Hey, first grade art friends, it's Mrs. Herbay. Today we are going to learn how to make the background for our winter birds. So what I want you to do is pull out the rest of the paper that I gave you. You're going to need your blue turquoise piece of paper, and then you're going to need your green, your dark green, and your dark brown paper. And the first thing we're going to do is we'll put the turquoise paper aside for a minute, but we're going to take the brown paper, and what I want you to do is I want you to draw some, I want you to have the paper going vertically, and I want you to draw some vertical lines, and I want some to be wider and some to be thinner. So I'm going to start with one right here, and the lines don't have to be totally straight. So there's a wide one, there's a thin one, do another thin one. So I have kind of wide, some thinner, and then a wide one. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to take your scissors and you're going to cut along the lines that you drew. So there's one. Then I'm going to cut my second one. And my last line. Okay, so these are going to be the branches that I'm going to use to create for my bird to sit on. And so what you're going to do is you're going to think about some diagonal lines, and you're going to think about how branches kind of grow of trees or bushes. Maybe one goes up like this, one goes like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with one main branch, and it's okay if it goes off the paper. And what you're going to do is you're going to maybe think of, and then you're going to think of maybe one other branch and where it's going to go. So maybe I'm going to make sort of like a V like this. Maybe one branch is higher than the other branch. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn my, move this up out of the way. I'm going to turn my paper over, and I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm going to put some glue along the back side of this first paper, and I'm going to position it. I want you to see it's okay if some of it is going off the paper, because we're going to trim that in a little bit. And then I'm going to take my other branch. Maybe I want to use this one instead. And I'm going to have it maybe come like this over here, like that. So same thing, we're going to turn it over, put glue on it, and then it's going to overlap that other branch. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my extra ones, and I'm going to create other branches. So for example, maybe I want to put one there, so I'm going to cut it like that. And so then I will, again, turn it over, put my glue on it, and then again, I'm just going to position it like that. And then maybe there's even another branch kind of coming up off of that. So we're kind of just forming, I'm forming the letter V, then I'm making the letter Y. And then I have some other ones left over too. So then what I can do is I can decide where I want these guys to go. So I'm going to cut this branch in half like that. And what you can do is you can even play around with how you want to lay it out before you glue it. And I have this one left over. So maybe I want that like that. These can overlap. They can be shorter. So you can kind of figure out how you want it. And then once you have your layout, so I'm going to turn this over. So we want to create a nice set of branches for our birds to perch in. Put this other one up here. Then I have this one. It's overlapping, and then actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one. So I'm going to have a little tiny one up here. Like that. And then I'm just going to have a little tiny one down here. And there you have it. And then what you can do is, I'm just going to turn this over to the back side, and where I see the branch sticking out, I'm just going to trim that one off. I'm going to turn my paper, and I have just carefully trimming there. And then there's one more. All right. So I want you to go ahead, glue your branches down. If there's any little spots where you didn't get the glue, you can go back. That little one's kind of popping up. All right, and there I have all my branches, okay? And then why don't you go ahead and do that, and then once you have all your branches glued down, then we'll go on to the next step. All right, guys, now that you have all your branches glued down, what you're going to do is you're going to take the green rectangle and the green square, and we're going to practice cutting strips, which is good for us. And you can practice by just going, so you're just snipping like that. So you're just cutting straight lines. Sometimes they could be thinner. Sometimes they could be a little thicker. And you're just going to go ahead and cut until you reach the end. So I'm going, my scissors are always pointing forward, just little chomps in there. So now I have all of my light green ones cut. And then you're gonna do the same thing with your dark green. So you're just gonna, again, make chomps. That one was really thin. And Okay, then go ahead and do that. You're gonna have a nice little pile of these strips that are actually going to be sort of like the pine needles for an evergreen tree. Once you have that, then we'll go on to the next step. All right, guys, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these strips and we're going to kind of glue them so that they are kind of like pine needles sticking to the side of the branches, okay? So what you can do is you can take your glue stick, and what you're going to do is you're just going to run a little swipe of glue along that, and then we're just going to stick that down. Run a little swipe of glue stick, and when you glue them down, you want to kind of make the letter V. And you can overlap them, like you can put some on top of the other. Some can be sticking out. And you can put them in different spots. So like maybe I want to start some up here. The other thing you could do is if you want to make some shorter, you can. So you can kind of cut it shorter if you want to. There's one. So you get the idea. So you're just going to go ahead and keep gluing some pine needles onto your branches until you have a fair amount. And I'm going to keep going, and you can kind of see me. I'm going to do it with a time lapse so you don't have to sit and watch the whole thing in real time. Alright guys, for our last step, we are going to add a few more pine needles just using our green crayon. So if you have a green crayon, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of make some more kind of wispy lines. And you can kind of attach them wherever you want. We want this to be a nice evergreen spot for our birds to chill out in. You can practice drawing your diagonal lines. All right, I think this looks pretty good. Okay, and then for the final step, if you happen to have some white paint, what you can do is you can grab a Q-tip, and if you put a little bit of white paint in a cup, and then I'm just going to take my Q-tip and dip it into the paint. And then I'm going to, here, let me grab, just going to take my Q-tip and I'm going to just dab it in there. And then what you can do is you can make little snow droplets if you would like to. If you don't have white paint, you could also use a white crayon to draw little dots of snow. Okay, I hope you have fun with this, and then next week we'll put our birds on the background. I look forward to seeing you guys on Tuesday.